So it's an ecumenical partnership of churches that grew out of our desire to do more for our neighbors. We were seeing the same people in all of our congregations coming to ask for help, and none of us felt like we were able to actually help. And so sitting together, we thought maybe if we pool our resources, we can actually help people. So that was the beginning of Connections Ministry. And since then it has grown in amazing and unexpected ways and overwhelming ways sometimes. So now we have an assistance fund that is, for the most part, managed by people we call community connectors, who sit one-on-one with people who need help and walk them through the resources that are already available in the community. When we get to the end of that and there are still needs, that's where our assistance funds come in. Then we also operate this rotating shelter that is housed in 8 church buildings in Mankato a week at a time. We operated from the last week of October until just this morning, and we housed over the season 175 people who were homeless for a variety of reasons, some chronically, some for the first time, families, women, men, everybody.
As I volunteered over time and began to interact with people, at least for a week at a time on a daily basis, you hear little slivers of their story, and they hear my story, and we exchange stories, and that deepens, if you will, the connections, the welcome and the hospitality. So very small slices at a time, getting to know each other.
I think the connections that have been made not only with our guests, which is really been fun, the connections we've made with other churches, the other congregations, members of other congregations, finding that we are all so much alike, and so that has been really rewarding. It's also been rewarding to see our congregation really, I think, grow throughout this experience. In the beginning, I believe there were probably some folks that were not really on board right away, but I think the congregation was willing to take this leap of faith and do it anyway. And we've had a wonderful response in terms of volunteers. We haven't had any trouble getting food. We serve a meal each night when the guests arrive, and we've been able to always staff it. And our volunteers have also come to us and said how enriched they feel and how wonderful the experience has been.
You might have noticed that Barb said our guests. That language has been really intentional from the very beginning, that we wanted this to be purely about hospitality, that this is not about them being clients and we are the helpers and they are the people being helped. It's not about them, being renters in our space or anything like that, but we really wanted them to feel like guests in our church, like we would have guests in our homes. And so we really have gone out of our way with all of our volunteers to craft that language and to say, these are not homeless people, these are not clients, these are not the needy, the unfortunate, all of those terms that we so often use.
And they don't need to make any changes for us. Right? We love them where they're at.
Unconditionally.
Unconditionally. And if they have an issue that comes up, we help deal with it.
Yeah.
I think it was really, as Colette and I sat down and sort of felt the Spirit
prodding us along in this process. It was very much just, it's a gospel-based mission, and Jesus would be looking at the beloved in every single person that he meets. And that for us is the foundation of, these are all beloved children of God. Everyone that walks through the door, volunteer, guest, public safety, pastors, whoever it is that's coming through, we are all loved. And I think just from our core, and knowing that we wanted to do it differently than it was being done anywhere else in the community, to help establish that dignity and respect.
I think one of the things that has been really surprising to me is that we thought that we were the ones extending hospitality. And we did. We certainly did. And I would say our volunteers did an amazing job of making people feel welcome. What I didn't expect is how welcome I would feel in the midst of people who live very different lives than I live. And I never felt like they were judging me because of my privilege, which it would be easy to do. I mean, I could understand that when I say, okay, guys, I'm going home to my kids, that there would be resentment or anger about that. And I never felt any of that. That it was always like, we're so happy to see you. We hope you have a good night. We'll see you in the morning. That the love was really both ways, which is really powerful when you come into this intending to serve and you find yourself being served by the people. And that's also been a huge part of the dignity and respect piece that I don't think thought about up front.
Exactly.
That by giving them the opportunity to be hospitable to each other and to form relationships with us, there's community created. So it's not mission work anymore. Like, the people who are homeless are part of us now.
I think what we're doing is not just reading the gospel, but living the gospel.
Call
Join
us.
us.
Call us.
We'll help.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll train.
we've trained other congregations as they came on that weren't on in the beginning, that decided to jump in. So I think it'd be easy enough to find people that would be willing to say, this is what we did, match it up or change it up to meet your needs.
It's a joyful experience.
It is.
I had a friend who used to say, God is generally speaking way ahead of us.
Yes.
Did you have instances where things just fell into your
Like
every
all the
day.
way along.
all along?
All the way along.
So if
So-
somebody is experiencing the
Yeah.
nudge, there's going to be probably the fact that God is way ahead of them. It's
We-
been tilling the soil before they respond.